Ethan fell in love with Sophie in the summer of their youth. She was everything he wasn't: wild, free, and utterly unbothered by the rules of the small town where they grew up. For Sophie, Ethan was a reliable, kind boy who ran to her every call. For Ethan, Sophie was the center of his world. When they were 17, Ethan fought a group of older boys at a party after one of them insulted Sophie. His black eye swelled for weeks, but he didn't care. He'd done it for her. She kissed his cheek in thanks and went off laughing with someone else that very night. But Ethan couldn't see the cracks in his devotion. He believed her smile hid a love waiting to bloom. As they grew, Sophie left the town behind, chasing dreams of cities and far-off places. Ethan stayed behind, tethered by the hope she might one day come back for him. When Sophie posted pictures of her travels, dancing in Rio, sipping wine in Tuscany, Ethan packed his meager savings and followed her trail. They bumped into each other sometimes. She greeted him warmly but fleetingly, always flitting away to new adventures or new men. "Ethan, you're so sweet," she'd say, leaving him aching for more. Years passed, and Ethan met Maya, a kind, intelligent woman with a warmth that soothed him. Maya loved Ethan in a way Sophie never had, but Ethan's heart was still chained to the dream of Sophie. He couldn't give Maya all of himself, and she left, tired of waiting for him to let go of his past. In his mid-40s, Ethan finally found success. He became a businessman. Though his career felt half-lived, his obsessive pursuit of Sophie had stolen too many years and opportunities. Meanwhile, Sophie had married twice, each union more chaotic than the last. Her children adored her, but she never stayed long in one place, her restless heart unable to settle. When Sophie reached her 70s, her beauty faded but her spark still flickered. Her children had moved away, her marriages had ended, and she found herself lonely and tired. It was then that Ethan, older and wiser, sought her out one final time. He found her sitting on a porch, watching the sunset over a quiet field. She smiled when she saw him, a weary yet genuine expression. "Ethan," she said softly. "It's been years." They talked for hours. She shared stories of her life, its highs and heartbreaks. Ethan listened, but something within him shifted. He no longer saw the radiant Sophie of his youth, nor the vibrant woman he'd chased for decades. He saw a person, flawed, selfish, and human. He realized, with a clarity he hadn't known before, that he'd never truly loved her. He had loved the idea of her, the illusion he'd built in his mind. "You know," he said as the evening faded into night, "I spent my whole life thinking you were my destiny. But you weren't. You were just a distraction." Sophie laughed, a bittersweet sound. "I always wondered why you chased me so hard. I never understood it." Ethan smiled, feeling a strange sense of peace. "I didn't understand it either. But I do now." He left her that night, walking away lighter than he'd ever felt. The years he'd wasted couldn't be reclaimed, but he vowed to spend the time he had left living for himself, not for a ghost of what could have been. Sophie, for all her charms, had taught him the most painful and valuable lesson of his life: that real love isn't an obsession. It's a choice, one he was finally ready to make.